The threat of sanctions hangs over Russia because Europe and the United States see Crimea's vote as illegal. Earlier, my colleague Anand Naidoo spoke with William Pomeranz, an expert in Russian affairs at the Woodrow Wilson Center, and he explained why this vote is seen as illegitimate.
Well, I don't think any other country is going to recognize it as a legal referendum. It is being held in a very rushed manner. It is not being held according to Ukrainian law, and Crimea is still a part of Ukraine. So that if it wanted to conduct a legal referendum, it would have to consult the central authorities, as in other countries. So I don't think it will be considered a legal referendum, and I don't think any other country will recognize it as a legal referendum other than the Russian Federation.
Right. The fact that only Russia is going to recognize it as a legal referendum, does that change anything?
Well, it doesn't change anything. It means that a path will be created for Crimea to join the Russian Federation. Ukraine is perceived as its sphere of influence, and it doesn't like the idea that the Europeans have offered it a chance to have a free trade area zone with the EU, and it doesn't like the US and the EU threat of sanctions in response to what's going on in Ukraine. But this is not necessarily an easy path, and it's one that's fraught with trouble for Russia. Russia itself has various autonomous regions and ethnic nationalities, and once it goes around recognizing the right of self-determination in Crimea, there's going to be questions raised inside the Russian Federation, and whether people in Dagestan or Chechnya maybe have a similar right.
Right, it could be setting a precedent that it doesn't want. But if we look at the practical implementation of, let's say, a yes vote, suppose the people in Crimea decide, yes, we want to be incorporated back into Russia. How is that going to be implemented?
Well, I think that the Russian Federation would invite Crimea to join it, and it would be incorporated as a part of the Russian Federation. I mean, that technically is not a problem. There are lots of on-the-ground problems, however. For example, how is Crimea still going to get its water and electricity? All that comes from Ukraine. There's a big question about the Crimean economy. It's dominated by tourists who come from Ukraine. Where are they going to go? It's unlikely that they're going to go to Crimea for the foreseeable future. So what you're looking at, if Russia indeed tries to incorporate Crimea into the Russian Federation, multi-billions of dollars will have to be spent every year to make that possible. A huge amount of subsidies, and it's money that Russia can ill afford at the present time.
Right, and what about the nuts and bolts of the referendum itself? I mean, who runs it? Who tallies the votes? Who certifies this as being the result?
That's a very good question, because clearly there are not going to be any overseas monitors, and clearly it's not going to be conducted in accordance to Ukrainian law. So really it's just going to be the local population and the local Russian population that's going to oversee it and most likely declare victory. Indeed, when you've looked at the sample ballots, they have included various ways by which they're voting for annexation or inclusion into the Russian Federation, but what was noticeably absent was the opportunity to say no.
Will this become a fact on the ground, as some people say, and then be used as a bargaining chip in negotiations with the West?
That is a possibility. It will become a fact on the ground. I think that is something that is going to be clear after the referendum takes place this coming Sunday. How things proceed after that is really the great unknown, whether this will end the crisis or whether Putin will decide to escalate the crisis. Okay,
well, Pomeranz, we're going to have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you.